Astralfall is one of those games that show up and people make a fuss over it, calling it the killer of blank. In this case, my first introduction to it was seeing folks call it Voxlblade 2, which is funny considering Voxlblade itself is already Voxlblade 2, but who's really keeping track here? So after hearing this very insane claim and seeing some neat little screenshots, I decided it was time to take a good look at it. So, here we go. Hey, it's Hiron and welcome to Astralfall, a game that somehow has a worse description than Fish. Just based on the description alone, it's an RPG where you can do your usual RPG things. Exploration, looting, crafting, and crafting again. With no permadeath, which I will cover how that works later. With that in mind, let's take a dive into Astralfall. Before I start though, I want to preface this by saying the game is currently in a majorly underdeveloped alpha stage, and everything is subject to change with time. This overview is based on the current content in the game, mostly excluding the event content. Okay, now let's go. The character customization in this game is quite well made, allowing for some interesting choices in comparison to others I've played. The hair is broken into parts, meaning you have more than just a list of hair to choose from, even down to the bangs. The races in this game are insanely unique, with a range of stat changes based on your choice. This ranges from a larger HP pool to a higher damage output, which is very standard for a lot of these kinds of games, but what matters is the stylization of these races. Races have their main path and variants, with the variants only having a cosmetic effect compared to their main path, meaning not everyone looks exactly the same with the exact same race. Looking at you, Deep Woken. There's also a good chunk of face choices, allowing for every character made to have that one-of-a-kind feel to it. Also, the ambience in this menu is so peak, you cannot tell me otherwise. Just take a listen. Astralfall is a mixture of Deep Woken's combat style along with the voxel art style. Its gameplay consists of two of your standard grindy game loops. First off, mob grinding. There are events scattered around the map, excluding the limited time event. We're looking at a whopping 2 whole different enemies to kill, with unique drop pools. I know, crazy. First, you've got the thugs, which spawn in camps and use randomized weapons to fight, and second, the wooden golems, which spawn in the open and just absolutely throw hands. Both of these camp types drop loot, which is primarily used to craft armor, and the second grind is mining. This game's weapons almost all require metals to craft, and some armors do as well, meaning you're going to be mining for a damn while. This grind used to be so much worse, but with the recent addition of the iron pickaxe, which gives more ore output from nodes, it's gotten a whole lot better. The requirements for some of the later ores is just insane, and it adds up so fast when you're trying to get 1 weapon part, let alone 2 or 3 if you want to mix things up a bit. These nodes can be found all around the map, but there's 2 pretty good spots where mining is the most efficient: the alpha door and this little overhang spot near spawn. Both have a good amount of ore nearby, with the alpha door being a lot better than the overhang, but not having silver. Now that we know about ores, let's take a look at the weapons you can make with them. This game's got 2 weapon parts, a handle and a blade. This is where the Voxlblade comparison comes in, of course ignoring the art style. Depending on the choice of blade and handle, you get access to different types of weapons, from light daggers and spears, to medium swords and spears, all the way to heavy great swords and spears. For some reason, all of these weapon types have an insane amount of end lag after the finisher, which definitely feels clunky when playing, but can be counteracted by using moves or heavy attack or anything that isn't just standing and M1ing. Different materials give different stats, ranging from just a power boost to critical chance and even core power, but a common stat between all of them is endurance, your health. However, the more powerful gear requires a lot more grinding, as their prices are absolutely massive. Choose what you want carefully and don't just dive headfirst into crafting whatever. Like I said earlier, these recipes start to add up in costs fast. These weapons also have skills that specifically only one weapon type can use. For example, Great Blades and Great Spears are the only ones that can use the Extinction ability. The list of skills in this game is quite large already, to the point where after all of my grinding, I still don't actually have every single ability. These skills range from melee attacks to full-blown death beams that do very bad damage. Along with all that, we've got the talent trees. There's 3 paths of note: endurance, power, and agility. But before I dive more in depth onto these paths, here's a quick word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by my channel members who make everything here possible. So, thank you to Makeshift, Pixel, Phantalemu, Arrow, Smile, Zemby, Luigi the God, Fizz Gaming, Pyrax, Betaside, Ongs, Toothbrush, Voltage, Gladiator, Sorry, SW, Doge DFD, Rosier, Exactly Fake, Jose Aldemar, Watcherful, Plester, Philip, Shade Morningstar, Nectar, and Eggman. If you want to join this ever-growing list, consider joining the channel with the join button down below. And of course, subscribing is completely free and is a massive help to the channel. I've got a Discord channel too if you're into that, link in the description. Okay, back to business. The Endurance talent tree is focused on HP and survival, with talents that prioritize keeping your HP high at all times and having a large max health pool. It also boosts your Encore for some reason. I think they just didn't know where else to put it. So, whatever. Power is all about damage output and being on death's door for buffs. This tree's perks all increase your damage output with both weapons and magic abilities, increasing power and core power respectively. Agility is about dodging and parrying, along with high mobility. And that's basically it. Okay, now that we understand the core of the game, let's look at Astralfall's combat is much like Deep Woken's. There's a large comparison, but I'll narrow it down just to the basics. You've got your M1s and your crit, M1 multiple times for your M1 combo to do a finisher, you can feint your attacks to bait parries, you can jump and attack for an aerial, holding F blocks, tapping F parries, blocking will use your posture instead of your HP to absorb damage until your block is broken, which stuns you. And that's literally everything summed up. Like, really fast. It's a bit more complicated than I made it sound, but the general consensus is a lot of this combat is skill-based rather than just having bigger number than people. Granted, obviously, having bigger number than people is a very important thing, but less so in this case. Along with this, you also have Encore, which is the mana system, which regens in small bursts, scaling with your Encore regen stat. There's not much to write home about this system, it's been done 100 times before, but there's a massive difference between this and Deep Woken that I'm sure a lot of you would like. There's PvP in this game, yes, but it's a toggleable feature in the settings. Having PvP on, however, increases your XP and drop rate significantly, meaning there's a purpose to actually having it on. There's no permadeath in this game, however you do have Lumina. On death, your Lumina decreases by 1 from 5 to 0. The lower your Lumina, the more XP, LN, and materials you will lose on death. No matter what the source of death is, however, you will lose Lumina. Okay, so now that you understand the game, is it worth your time? Yes, 100%. The game is free, and even though it's an alpha, the small amount of content is a good way to burn a few hours. The gameplay is fun, but the grind does get incredibly repetitive incredibly fast. If that's not your forte, don't touch this game. There's no pay-to-win aspects of any kind, yet. It may change in the future, we'll have to see. They fixed the mining grind, we can always hold out hope. There's no pay-to-win aspects of any kind, the only purchasable things are donations and the ability to reset your talent tree once. I do disagree majorly with making a mechanic like this paid for, but obviously any funding helps with development of a game, so there's not much you can really do about that one. The community is quite nice, unlike Deep Woken, you're much less likely to run into anyone whose goal it is to ruin your day. Ultimately, this game to me is a solid 8 out of 10. However, if they do what Fish did and completely sell out and drop all morals, then I will gladly change this super duper important rating that will definitely change everything about a game to 0. And that's about it. If you want to see Astralfall content from me, I'm not sure if it happens, but we'll just have to wait and see. Voxlblade is so dry, I'm trying to find literally anything to do to fill in the gaps while we wait, and I remembered that this is an actual series I had, so here it is. Thanks to all of you for watching, link to Astralfall is in the description, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!